welcome to the Let's Talk Strategy webinar for Giving Day 2025. Thanks for joining this afternoon. For those of you who are joining our webinar for the first time for Giving Day 2025, I just want to do a quick plug that this is actually the second webinar in our webinar kind of training series. The first webinar that we hosted really dove into how to register for Giving Day 2025, how to navigate the back end of your organization dashboard, and how to build out your organization page. So I would recommend that if you haven't watched that webinar already, that you go to the Giving Day 2025 Nonprofit Toolkit, take a peek, watch that recording. There's also a detailed slide deck there as well, depending on your learning style. But that's kind of step one, is getting registered and figuring out how to navigate the dashboard. And then today's kind of like the step two in webinar, where we're really going to dive into the fundraising functionality that's available on the Mighty Cause platform to be able to amplify your success for Giving Day 2025. So our general housekeeping items, obviously this is a webinar style conversation that we're having today. So everybody is muted and your videos are turned off, but still would love to hear from you. If you want to use the webinar chat feature to kind of chat amongst each other, maybe you have some best practices from, maybe you've really had a lot of success with peer-to-peer fundraising in the past for online campaigns, or maybe you have a really great strategy for reaching out to sponsors to secure matching grants. We want this to be collaborative and we want you all to work together. So feel free to use that webinar chat to kind of talk with each other and discuss strategy. Any questions that you have would be really, really helpful if you send them directly through the Q&A feature. That kind of just helps to keep chat separate from questions, and I think allows Will and I to be able to see questions, answer them live, put them in a queue, and kind of keep them separate. That way we can make sure everybody leaves today with their questions answered and we're not kind of overlooking anything. And then my general goal is that depending on questions that come through, if they feel like they are more applicable to the entire group and they're kind of timed with what I'm covering content-wise, is that I will pause and try to answer those questions live as we're going through everything, because again, I want this to be more of a conversation style as best as we can. But if there are any questions that seem a little bit like specific to your organization or specific to like just something that kind of doesn't go with the flow of the conversation, I'll probably hold those and we'll go over them at question and answer at the end. So just know I'm not ignoring anyone. I'm just kind of making a game time decision on what's easy to take during the conversation and what we'll kind of punt to the end. So we'll go ahead and get started. And first, I just wanted to say my name is Natalie. I'm the project manager on the Mighty Cause side that's been working with the team to build out Giving Day 2025. And then we also have Will, who will probably give you a quick wave, but he is here from kind of the Giving Day side of the house, and he can answer any more specific questions that are, more strategy related, and I'm here for more of the technical component. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll probably turn off my video just because I'm going to be looking over here at some screens as I navigate everything, but I'll pop back in periodically and then again at the Q&A time. So let's go ahead and dive into our webinar for today. So our first thing, our agenda for the webinar. So the goal today, we're going to talk about a couple reminders for Giving Day 2025. We're going to touch on offline donations and some rules for offline donations. How do they count? How do they appear on your giving event profile? And how do you enter them? We will talk about peer-to-peer fundraising, matching grants, and then we'll have a little bit of time at the end for a question and answer period. So first things first are our reminders. So registration closes on Friday, April 18th. So if you are attending this webinar and you have not yet registered for Giving Day 2025, welcome. Glad you found yourself here. Excited to talk to you about fundraising strategy, but just know that the first most important step is that you want to make sure you're registered and successfully approved to participate in Giving Day 2025, because that's how you'll be able to, have your profile, raise funds, and be able to participate. So if you haven't registered yet, please make sure to do so after this webinar today. And then the second general reminder is to make sure that you're adding content to your organization page. So while the Giving Day 2025 site isn't like pushing viewers to come to your pages and start looking at them just yet, there is a search feature that is visible on the Giving Day 2025 website. And if a donor or user kind of finds themselves on the site, gets a little curious, clicks on search, they can look for and view your organization page right now if you are approved for the giving event. So just a good general reminder that if you haven't done so yet, go into the back end of your profile, make some of those adjustments, add in your logo, your header image, make sure your display name is correct, put in some content, because you never know how early people are poking around and wanting to get prepared for which nonprofits they want to support. So just go ahead and do that. And then one extra plug is that it's always good to, if you're not logged into the Mighty Cause platform and you go to Giving Day 2025 website, if you go to the search feature and search for your organization name, and you know that you're registered, you're approved, but you don't see yourself in search, that's probably a really good sign that one of the administrators on your page might have intentionally or accidentally turned off the discoverability on your page. So if that happens to be the case, you can just log into your organization profile, go into your general settings, and make sure that you have yourself as discoverable. Sometimes people accidentally click that setting and they don't realize that that actually hides them from search. So just a good general test to maybe, pop on incognito mode in your browser, or have somebody else, go to the site, look and search. And if you can't find your org, you might have turned your visibility off. So turn that back on. And if you have any questions and find yourself not understanding why you're not appearing, please feel free to reach out to our support team at support@mightycause.com. And we'd be happy to review your settings and point you in the right direction. And then our second reminder is to complete your to-do list. So we talked about this more in depth in the first webinar that we covered, but you have a really handy tool on the overview tab of your organization dashboard called the to-do list. And if you click on your to-do list and expand it, you're able to see which components of your profile haven't been completed yet. So this handy tool is really built to encourage you as the organization admin to build out components of your organization page that are just really basic and ensure that donors that land on your page are having the best experience. So we're asking you to add your logo, add a banner image, add information in the about section, put content on your thank you page. So nothing that's crazy above and beyond. It's really just this to-do list is built to make sure that you have a nice looking profile when donors and, site traffic land on your page. So just a plug for the to-do list. Something else that's really helpful about this to-do list is that if you were to, if you open the detailed to-do list and you see a list like this, if you click on, let's say, my banner image isn't finished. If I click on banner image, that takes me directly to the location on my organization dashboard where I have to enter in my banner image. So it's not only a nice kind of reminder of components you should complete, but it's also a really great navigation tool that just takes you directly to where you need to complete that item, and then it gets crossed off your list. So just a little plug for that to-do list. So now let's talk about offline donations. We get a lot of questions about offline donations for giving days that we help run. Questions about, do they count? Don't they count? Do they count towards prizes? How do I enter them? How do I delete them? So the first little chunk of our conversation today is going to answer those questions for you. So rules for offline gifts as it applies to Giving Day 2025. So if your organization receives cash or checks outside of the Giving Day 2025 website, you can enter them in manually via the Giving Day 2025 platform to count towards your Giving Day totals. So they need to be entered in on between the hours of Giving Day 2025, so May 7th to May 8th. If you enter in these offline donations, they will count towards your overall totals for Giving Day 2025. So if you're looking at your organization profile, and let's say I just entered in a $100 offline donation, my front-facing totals will increase by $100. But the important thing to note is that offline gifts do not count towards prizes or leaderboards. So it's really up to you whether or not you want to leverage kind of this offline donation strategy, because again, they don't count towards prizes or leaderboards, but if you feel really strongly compelled that you want them to show on your profile, you can add them. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if your organization is going to enter in offline gifts, there will likely come a time where you look at your organization donation page on Giving Day 2025, and your total is slightly different than what you see on the leaderboard for Giving Day 2025. That is going to be expected. And again, just reiterating, that's because offline gifts are not going to count towards leaderboards or prizes. So you just might have one of those discrepancies when you're looking at things, but the host does want you to be able to add them if that's something that you feel compelled to want to include in your totals. So let's go ahead and talk about how to enter an offline gift. To enter in an offline gift, you'll navigate to your organization dashboard. You'll click on this reports area. You'll click on donations. And then to enter an offline gift, in the top right corner of that donation screen, you'll select Add Offline Donation. When you click Add Offline Donation, you'll be presented with a little pop-up field that allows you to input information about that offline gift, such as the donor name, their email. You can pick the source, so you can say whether it was cash, check, and I think there are a couple other options that are there. You can provide any kind of internal notes that you want to be able to be appended to that donation. And then when you click complete donation, any information that you provide there will be available in the downloadable offline donation report via your organization dashboard. So that's kind of the process of entering in an offline donation. Again, it's a pretty easy, and I'll pop over here just into our demo site so we can walk through that together, because I think sometimes it's a bit easier to learn as you go through. So again, we went through our reports, we went into donations, and then over here, there's an add offline donation area. So this is where I get that pop-up. I add in my first and last name of the donor, the amount, source, email if I want to, and then I put in the date and time of that gift. So the important thing here is when we're looking at the donation date and time, we want that to land within the Giving Day 2025 window, so May 7th to May 8th. This isn't necessarily the date that the donation was received, it's the date in which you're entering it. So you'll just want to put that in to make sure that it's tagged correctly towards your Giving Day 2025 organization totals. And then you'll see you just have some additional options down here if you'd like to. You can, if you have any kind of drilled down designations that you've provided on your page, you can drill that down. You can add additional notes. If they wanted to hide their name from the public or hide their amount from the public, you have that option as well for an offline gift. And then the last little note on offline gifts is how to delete an offline gift. So let's say there's a scenario where you have your thumbs are a little bit bigger than you wanted them to be. You meant to enter in an offline donation for $100, but you accidentally added it for $1,000. There's no way to actually edit a small component of an offline gift once it's been added into the back end of your dashboard. So what you'd want to do is to come into your donation report. You'd locate the gift in question. You'd click on the little menu icon in the far right side, and then you would just delete that offline gift and then add it again with the correct information available. So again, you can't locate it and edit it to say, okay, instead of $1,000, I wanted it to be 100. But what you would do is you'd find the donation, delete it, and then re-add it again. So pretty easy. But if you do end up having any issues when it comes to entering offline donations, needing to remove them from the platform, again, I'm going to say this throughout the webinar today, feel free to reach out to our support team at support@mightycause.com, and we would be happy to kind of hop in and help you clean up anything that you need. So that was our quick kind of touch on offline donations, and now into kind of more of the meat of our conversation today, which is talking about peer-to-peer fundraising. So again, wanting this to be as collaborative as possible. So if you're an admin of an organization who's listening right now and you have participated in Giving Day 2025, well, I guess it'd be 2024, but if you participated in Giving Day in a previous year, or have participated in other kind of online giving events and utilize peer-to-peer fundraising, I'd welcome you to use that webinar chat amongst yourselves, kind of talk about maybe what was your success with peer-to-peer fundraising, how did you go about securing and promoting peer-to-peer fundraising, what ways did you incentivize your peer-to-peer fundraisers. Our conversation today on my end is going to be more about the technical side and how do you set up peer-to-peer fundraisers, but I think that you as the organization admins who live and breathe this and have utilized it for your own campaigns are going to be a really great resource for each other together to kind of talk about what strategies have worked well for you when it comes to peer-to-peer fundraising. So don't be shy and feel free to utilize that webinar chat to kind of maybe, say, have you used it in the past? Has it worked well for you? And then, maybe share a couple tidbits on things that you want to share so that other people can be able to replicate some of your success. So let's go ahead and dive into, how do you set up peer-to-peer fundraising on Mighty Cause? What does it look like from the peer-to-peer fundraisers perspective? What does it look like from your perspective as the organization admin? And what are some things that you have control over? So I'm actually going to do this whole component in our demo site today, just because, again, I think kind of learning as we go and moving together and being able to click around together is usually pretty helpful. So the first part about peer-to-peer fundraising is deciding whether or not your organization wants to have peer-to-peer fundraising as a component of your Giving Day 2025 campaign. So I would say that probably most of the nonprofits that I chat with that participate in Giving Days across the country do want people to be able to fundraise on their behalf. It's a really, really incredible way to be able to leverage your volunteers, leverage your lower capacity, high capacity donors, your board members, staff members, family. Really, the peer-to-peer fundraising feature and what it is can be utilized by the whole array of your constituents. What it does is it allows them to be able to create their own little unique page that they can share out with their social circle and be able to help spread the word about your organization, your fundraising campaign, and be able to help solicit donations on your behalf. Again, this is super helpful because your organization, right, you have your own email lists, you have your own kind of communication strategy and plan, your outreach and the users and people that you are typically hitting with your communications. By having peer-to-peer fundraisers, you're really broadening that outreach. You're touching audiences that aren't normally receiving your messaging, and it really just, again, allows you to amplify your messaging and be able to hopefully secure new donors and new dollars from new donors. So peer-to-peer fundraising. So you, from an admin perspective, like I said, that first step is deciding whether or not you want users to be able to sign up as peer-to-peer fundraisers for your Giving Day 2025 campaign. Your option for step one is just, so if I am on my organization dashboard, up here, I've turned on edit mode, which allows all these little gray kind of editable toggles to be here. If I scroll down next to my donate and fundraise button, I see this little announcement icon. And if I click on that, this is where I can turn on or turn off my fundraise button. So that's really kind of step one in this process. Leaving it on allows people to come to my page, click fundraise, create their own fundraiser pages. Turning it off means that, on the back end, you as the admin can create fundraiser pages for them. You can make them the admin of that page once you're done setting it up. So it allows you to still have the feature, but kind of keep it more like internally managed. But I would say for the most part, leaving it on and on your page allows, more organic traffic and allows people to be able to sign up and fundraise on your behalf. So step one is turn the button on or turn the button off. From a peer-to-peer fundraiser perspective, so let's go ahead. Now we're thinking about me as the user. So we're looking at the Animal Humane Society page. Maybe I recently adopted a pet from the Animal Humane Society, and I really want to help amplify their messaging and want to help collect donations on their behalf. So I, as a user, I land on their page. I click this fundraise button. Here I see the option where it says create a fundraiser. It's telling me a little bit about fundraisers are the easiest way to raise money online. I go ahead, I click start. I see that it's time to customize my fundraiser, and I see, oh, the organization has a template that I can use to get started. So that seems really easy to me, and I would rather, have less time that I have to do to build out a page, and I'd rather use their content than start from scratch. And so I click this build fundraiser button, and then this will drop me directly on my new fundraiser page for the Animal Humane Society. So clearly I'm logged into the Mighty Cause platform, so it allowed me to go through without putting in any login information. For people that are new to Giving Day 2025, new to the Mighty Cause platform, during that flow, they'll just be prompted to either log in or create a login in order to sign up as a peer-to-peer fundraiser. So that's the only step that you didn't really see in that process. But again, you saw super easy. I'm just clicking the fundraise button. I'm deciding whether or not I want to start with a template provided by your organization, or if I want to start from scratch. And then I click fundraise, and then here I am on my fundraiser page. And we'll talk a little bit about in a second how you as the admin can create that fundraiser template. As you can see here, look how helpful it is if you do that, because all I did was I clicked 2 buttons, and I've now landed on a page where I already have an image. I have most of, a display name. I can just update it to have my name included. I already have a goal applied to my page. And if I scroll down, I already have a story. So I did basically nothing, and I've landed on a page that is already almost completely designed for me, with a really small minimal ask of the fundraiser to just update a few places before they publish their page to start sharing. So I really, really, really would encourage you as the organization admin, and I'll show you again in a second how to create the template, but I would encourage you to create one, because again, you're kind of minimizing the barriers to entry for a fundraiser to sign up, create a page, publish it, and then share it with their audience. So just super helpful. Had I not utilized the template, I would have landed on this page, no image, no goal, no content. It just looked really plain, and then I would have had to build it out from scratch. You might have some fundraisers who elect to go that option and don't want to utilize your template because they kind of know what they want to do and they don't feel intimidated by starting from scratch. Fantastic for them. But for the vast majority of your audience, it's going to be very helpful for you to create a template so that they land on a page that's already pretty much, designed for them. So if we hop over here to an already completed peer-to-peer fundraiser page, we can see what that looks like for the fundraiser. So, I've updated it, and now I have my name in here. I've added a little bit of a summary story section. You can see how many dollars I've raised. You can see donors who have given to my peer-to-peer fundraiser page, and then you can see my story here as well. And then if I have, any matches that are set up on my peer-to-peer page. So from a peer-to-peer perspective, right, I can make edits to a bunch of these things. I can look at the donations that have come in through my peer-to-peer fundraising efforts. I can update some settings on my end. So again, they have a little bit of agency over what they're doing with their page, but for the most part, it is already built in based off of that template that you've provided. And then what you can't see, because I only have part of my screen shared, but in the URL area while I'm on this page is also the URL that I would share out as my peer-to-peer fundraising page. So I'd take that URL, I'd share it on Instagram, I'd share it on Facebook, I'd share it, in my family group text and say, hey, I just created this page for the Animal Humane Society, like make a donation. I really want to give back because, I've been a recipient of their services and I really loved my experience and I want to make sure that we're supporting them. And so that's kind of how that peer-to-peer process works for the individual peer-to-peer user. Jumping back to what it is like for you as the organization admin. So if we come back, and it might take me a second to get back there. Let's go to Animal Humane Society. So we're back logged in as you, right? I'm an admin of the Animal Humane Society page. And now let's talk about how you as the admin can create a fundraising template. So like you just saw, your peer-to-peer fundraisers aren't starting from scratch when they sign up to fundraise on your behalf. So within this fundraising tools area, you'll have this fundraiser template option. There's already a template that's been created here, but if there wasn't a template, you could come up here and you could press the plus create option, and that's how you would start to create a fundraiser template. This is a great example too, that after you've created your peer-to-peer fundraiser template, if you ever need to go in and make some adjustments, it's pretty easy. You just click the menu icon here and click edit template. But this also kind of shows you what it looks like when you set one up from scratch. So you as the admin will have the option, you can put in a note, and this note is really just something that's showing on the back end for you as the admin if you wanted to put a note there that explains like, this is the template for Giving Day 2025. You can add in a templated title so that everybody starts with something. And so this clearly showed me as the peer-to-peer fundraiser when I created my page. The expectation was for me to change this out to be my name name, but I was supposed to leave everything else. So I think adding like brackets or quotes around an area that you want them to adjust is just kind of, I think, a pretty universal understanding that that's the area that you want them to make edits to, but leave everything else. You can add a templated goal for your peer-to-peer fundraiser. Again, this is helpful because they land on the page and they understand what is expected from them as far as what they should be raising. The great thing about the funding goal, though, is that if I, as a peer-to-peer fundraiser, am like, whoa, that's really, really big. This is my first time being a peer-to-peer fundraiser. I'm probably not going to get that many dollars. I can go in and I can adjust that fundraising goal as the peer-to-peer, and I can make that lower once I've created my page. Or likewise, maybe I look at that and I'm like, I'm going to blow that out of the water and I'm really ambitious. I can go in and I can adjust that fundraising goal and increase that. That way I am, pushing my donors to give more because my fundraising goal is higher. You can also add a fundraiser image that will be pulled in. Again, if the fundraiser decides to edit it and add something else, they can, but at least they have an engaging image that is part of your kind of branding. You can add a short story for them, and then you can add a longer story that would be visible for the peer-to-peer fundraiser. And so you have created, let's see if it will work because I didn't make any updates. So you've created your peer-to-peer fundraiser template. And then once you have created it, if you just created it, you would land on a screen that looks like this. The star would just be an outline. And what you'll want to do is just make sure that you click it. And that's what essentially tells the system that when the fundraiser goes through the fundraiser process, I want you to prompt them with this template and tell them that they can use it as they move forward in their peer-to-peer fundraising process. So again, just a reminder, we walked through this a second ago, but then once I have my fundraiser template in place, the user clicks fundraise, they click get started, and then they're prompted to see like there's a template that's already provided by the organization. If I uncheck, I can go through and I get started and everything is blank and I build that all out, or I use the template and then we land on a page like we just saw. So my recommendation is always that if your organization is going to, heavily promote the peer-to-peer fundraising feature, or maybe you're just thinking for this year, we're going to leave the fundraise button on. We don't really have an exact strategy for who we're going to promote it to. This is our first year taking part in the Giving Day campaign, and we just want to tackle, the small achievable things that we can. I would still recommend that you create that peer-to-peer template because it just makes the process so much easier for those fundraisers to sign up. And again, if you do have a strategy to be able to reach out and try to get people to sign up, I would say create that fundraising template first before you start to advertise that they can sign up. And that way you ensure that there's already a template in place for them to get started. But that's kind of our peer-to-peer fundraising feature in a nutshell. I guess probably the last component that I want to show you here today is how you as the admin can kind of have an overview of your peer-to-peer fundraisers. So if we're on our organization dashboard, fundraising tools, campaigns, this is where I can see all of the peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns that are associated with my organization on the Giving Day platform. So I can see the name of the fundraiser. I can see what type of fundraiser. I can see how much they've raised. When was the last time a change was made by an admin? Who owns that page? When was it created? When was it published? And then I can see, the status. Is it published or have they like hidden it for now? In which case, you might want to ask them, why is your page hidden? Do you need help turning it back on? So again, sometimes people click buttons that they're not sure what they do. And so this gives you some good insight into what pages are created. From an admin perspective, sometimes we get questions about, what do I do if a peer-to-peer fundraiser creates a page and, maybe they didn't use your template and it's just completely blank. And you obviously want to be in some control over the messaging that's sent out about your org. You want everything to look nice and be in line with your branding. Or you're like, a peer-to-peer fundraiser created a page and I don't think the content they put in is appropriate and I want to make some adjustments. Be sure that you as the admin have access to make adjustments if you'd want to. So if you located, let's say it's Susie's fundraiser, if I come over here to the menu icon, if I click on that, I have some options. So if I just needed to completely delete that fundraiser because it shouldn't be participating, you could delete it. You could message that fundraiser. You could toggle discoverability, so you could decide to actually hide it. So that is you turning it off so that way no one can actually find the page. Or something that's probably the easiest route is if you click on campaign dashboard, it will just take you to the dashboard for that peer-to-peer fundraiser. So now you as the admin can come here and you could make an adjustment. You could change the name. You could maybe take out that part of the story that you didn't want to have visible. This is also super helpful kind of navigation if you have a peer-to-peer fundraiser who signed up and they have the best of intentions to help you as a peer-to-peer fundraiser, but maybe they just don't have as much of kind of the technological acumen. And so they're struggling with how to make adjustments. They can't figure out how to update the image. And so this is a really quick way for you to just be able to hop in and help them if they need a little bit of extra kind of hands-on assistance. But yeah, so that's peer-to-peer fundraising. I haven't seen any questions come in, but again, I would invite you if you have any questions about, the peer-to-peer fundraising feature we just covered, please feel free to use that Q&A feature. And again, just a plug that if you are someone who has participated in Giving Day in the past and your organization has used peer-to-peer fundraising successfully, really would encourage you to kind of use that webinar chat and to share some strategy with each other, because again, we want this to be as helpful as possible for everyone who's attending. So we'll skip through some of these slides. Ooh, we have a good question. Thank you. If we create the P2P page, how do I share that with the group that I created it for? Okay, really, really great question. So this is a great example of, let's say, right, you have, maybe it's a board member, or maybe it's someone that wants to fundraise, but they just don't have the time or capacity to be able to create that page. So if you as the admin need to create a fundraiser page for someone else, you can come to your back end into fundraising tools, campaigns, and you can press this plus create campaign option to create a fundraiser, or you can actually just mimic the regular user experience. You can come here, you can click fundraise and go this route. Once you're ready to switch ownership of that page from yourself to the actual peer-to-peer fundraiser, so let's just pretend it's Susie. If I'm here in the settings area of Susie's peer-to-peer fundraiser page, and I scroll down here to change fundraiser owner, this is where, so if I'm Dawn, right? So I'm Dawn, I've created this page for Susie, and now I'm ready to give ownership to Susie because I want her to be able to have admin access here and be able to make adjustments. You can just add that person's email address, click save, and then that will transfer ownership of the page over to someone else. Likewise, though, if you're like, I am going to create these pages and I know that Susie is never going to log in, that she really just needs the link and needs to share it, you could leave yourself as the owner of the page and just share the unique URL to the page with Susie. So you have some options depending on the use case, but that's how you would go through, create the page like you are Susie, come into settings, and then you can just change the owner of the page here by clicking save. And of course, if you ever have questions about that or, run into issues, definitely reach out to our support team and we can help make sure that the correct people are the ones that own the pages. But that's where you'd also be able to see back here in the campaigns area, I can see that Susie's is owned by me. So it's owned by an admin. So that's a really great way to say like, okay, Susie's page is owned by me, but Grace has actually been kind of transitioned as the owner of her own page. So this column here gives you a bit of a snapshot on that. Great question. And then I have a question, where would we copy the URL from to be able to share? So if I am on Susie's page and if I'm on the story page area, what you can't see in my URL right now is, so just picture that I'm on my browser. And if I'm on this part of the profile, in my browser is actually, it would say like givingday2025.org/story/ it's Susie's page. So when you're on here, you just copy the URL that's in your browser, and that's what you would be able to share out. Great question. Perfect. So yeah, if you have more questions about P2P, keep them coming. But for now, we are going to, so these slides are pretty, again, they're a really good kind of detailed walkthrough of everything that we just did live. That way, if anybody needs to read through these afterwards, or you're more of a like see content and do other things, learner, that will be available. Great question. We just had someone that said, oops, I had to take a call. I missed some of this. Is it recorded? Yes, this webinar today is being recorded. The goal is that we will have the webinar available in the nonprofit resources page of the Giving Day 2025 website by no later than tomorrow, end of day. I have a pretty clear afternoon, so I'm hoping to have that done by the end of the day today, actually. So the recording of the call, along with this kind of detailed walkthrough slide deck, will both be available. So great, timely question. So yeah, let's skip through. We talked about this, and now let's go ahead and dive a little bit into matching grants. So again, my plug that if you have done online fundraising before, participated in a giving event, leveraged a matching grant or a challenge and had a lot of success with it, please feel free, give some strategy in the webinar chat to each other. That way you can kind of learn from each other. Today, we're going to be talking again more about the technical component of how do I set up a matching grant in the platform. So I guess kind of the first thing that we will touch on, that way if some people aren't familiar with the terminology, Mighty Cause calls these matching grants. A matching grant in theory is you as the organization admin have identified, let's say, maybe large donors that have given to your org before, or you've identified local businesses that you as the organization admin are going to reach out to, tell them that you're participating in Giving Day 2025, tell them, you might have to explain what an online giving event is, what the goal is, and then explain to them that, if they were to give a large donation, you could leverage that on your Giving Day 2025 profile to incentivize more donors to give. And then most commonly, when we're thinking about a matching grant, we're thinking about a one-to-one match. So where I, as the donor, come to your organization page, I make a $10 donation, and then your matching grant unlocks $10. So it's a way for it to actually double the money that is coming in through your page. Obviously helps to quickly boost totals for you as the organization admin, but it's a really great incentivization and motivator for your donors, because if I'm coming in, right, as a lower capacity donor, I know that I have anywhere from $10 to $20 to be able to give during Giving Day 2025. If I see that your organization has a match and I know that my $20 is now going to turn into $40, that's really exciting. And that's a great motivator for me to be able to give. It might even actually encourage me to give a little bit more, because I know that my smaller gift will be amplified to something larger. So that's kind of the idea of a matching grant in a nutshell. Now I want to show you, so let's pretend, right, you have reached out to that local business, you've secured maybe a $1,000 gift from them, and now we need to figure out, how do I go into the Mighty Cause platform and set that up so that it can be leveraged during Giving Day 2025. So we'll hop back over here into the demo site, organization dashboard. In the fundraising tools section, we'll click on matching grants. And so this matching grants area is where we can manage all of the matching grants that we have for Giving Day 2025. So in this area, I can see all of my live matching grants and some stats about them. So, we're in demo right now. I can see I have a matching grant set up and it's active. I can see that it was for $10,000. 185 has been matched so far, and we have $9,815 left. If I had a matching grant that was set to come later, I'd be able to see info about that upcoming match. And then likewise, if I scroll down into this past matches area, I can see any matching grants that have already been completed. So I can see, when did they start? When did they end? What type of match was it? How much was it for? How much was matched? How much was left? Why did it close? And then I could come over here and I can actually download information about the matching grant. And so that's really helpful, because if you have a matching grant during Giving Day 2025, sometimes you'll have donors that reach out and they're like, hi, I just wanted to make sure I made my gift during Giving Day 2025. I saw that you had a match that was running, and I just wanted to make sure, did my donation get matched? You can come here, and if you download the donation report, it will show you all donations that came through that triggered that match. So any donation that came in and actually activated that match to give dollars. So that's a great way for you to be able to confirm, what donations went towards which match. And then I saw a question, are matching grants limited to a window of time? Great question. I'll show you that here in just a second while we go through the setup of a matching grant. So we've come here, right? I've secured that $1,000 from my local business, and I'm ready to go in and create a match in the Mighty Cause platform. So I click this plus create button in the top right corner, and now I'm on the create a new match screen. So we have some options here. We can add in the name of my match sponsor. And then let's say your match sponsor wants to remain anonymous. So we'll just do Jane. And let's say that Jane would prefer to remain anonymous. So I'm going to decide to hide her name publicly. We said that Jane gave $1,000, so I'm going to enter in $1,000 for that match. If I had an image, so let's say that instead I got this $1,000 from like a local grocery store or a local business, I could add in a logo here. And again, that's a really great way, I think, to have some stewardship for the match sponsor, because you're bringing in some of that brand recognition for them as well. So, if I'm talking to a local business and I'm telling them the benefits of, why the matching grant would mean so much to my organization, I can also say to them, but if you give me this money, your business name will be advertised on my organization page. I'll have your logo on my organization page, and everyone who donates and is activated by that match will know that your business is the one who gave us those funds. And again, so it's kind of they help you, you help them by spreading the word about their business as well. So you can include a logo here if you had one. This next checkbox here is where we determine whether or not the matching grant money should count in your organization totals. So just a really easy, quick rule of thumb. If my $1,000 from Jane Smith, if I received that money from her offline, so it's outside of the Giving Day 2025 platform, then I want to have this box be checked. And so that's essentially telling the system that anytime money comes in, I want this kind of like fake money to be added to my total, because we don't have to worry about it being double counted. That money was already received outside of the platform. However, if Jane Smith tells me that she wants to make her $1,000 donation directly to my Giving Day 2025 profile, then I want to uncheck that box. And here the platform is going to ask you some questions about why, because it wants to make sure that you understand what unchecking that box means. And so when I go to select my reason, I can say the match funder intends to fulfill their commitment by donating through this page. And so when I say exclude, this just ensures that when someone makes a donation and this match is active, you would see that the match value is going down, and it would act like the match was being activated, but my totals aren't going to increase every time by the match. And that's because Jane intends to make her donation to my profile, and we don't want those dollars to be double counted. So again, without getting too in the weeds and making it confusing, general rule of thumb, if donation is going to come to you outside of the platform, have this box checked. If your match sponsor is going to make their gift through your profile for Giving Day 2025, you want to uncheck this box. If you end up with any questions as you're going in to set up a match and you're like, I can't quite remember why I would check or uncheck this box, really, 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 again, encourage you to reach out to our support team at support@mightycause.com. And we will ask you a couple of questions about, how much is your match? How did you receive those funds? And we will make sure that this is set up correctly for you. And so you can get us involved at the beginning, so that way we can kind of help you. Or if you set up your match and you want us to review it, please feel free to reach out to us and we would be happy to do so. The next thing that we have here is the ability to put in a title of our match. And then down here, which answers one of the first questions that came through, is whether or not we have to kind of time scope our match. So you have the option to have your match have a start date, a start time, an end date, and an end time. And obviously, you would want to put that as the donation window for Giving Day 2025. Or a really great tool that we have, if you have more than one matching grant set up on your organization profile for Giving Day 2025, you can queue a match to start after another one has completed. So rather than sitting here and waiting for match one to finish itself out and then turn on match two, you can essentially come here and say, I already showed you this profile currently has a $10,000 active match going on. I'm coming in here and saying, okay, I got another $1,000 from Jane Smith, awesome. And, you know, I just want this match to turn on as soon as that other one turns off. So I can click this button. And now essentially what that means is that my match I'm setting up right now will be automatically enabled by the Mighty Cuz platform as soon as that first one is over. So this is a super helpful tool. And for those of you who have participated in Giving Day in the past on the previous platform, this wouldn't have been available to you. So this is definitely a kind of a step up and an upgrade when it comes to the matching grant feature. So feel free to leverage that if you have two matching grants and you don't want them to run at the same time, you can queue one to start after the other. And I have a lot of great questions that are coming through, so I'm attempting to answer them as I go through here because they are applicable to content we just haven't covered just yet. So I'll show you here in a second. Here we get to set up the match type. So our standard matching grant is really that one-to-one match, right? $10 comes in, $10 is unlocked. And so as we come here, that's what's default checked. So we have match a percentage of each donation, 100%. So this means $10 comes in, $10 is unlocked. Let's say that you wanted to like really motivate your donors and you say, I want it to be a 3-to-1 match. So $10 comes in, $30 is unlocked. You can just up the percent of that match. And that's what tells the platform, I want you to look at that donation and match it by X amount. So for a standard kind of one-to-one match, which we have here, you would leave this checked, and then you have the option of whether or not you want to go a little bit further when it comes to setting up the match and putting in some kind of restrictions. So you could decide that you want to match up to a maximum dollar amount per donation. And so, if we're looking at my $1,000 match, and I know that I'm going to have a lot of donation activity during Giving Day 2025, and I'm worried that that match is just going to be, used up way too quickly, I could say, I want to match every gift that comes in, but I only want to match it up to $100. That way you're still incentivizing donors, you're still getting them to give, you're still unlocking a match, but you're putting this parameter in place, which, it slows down how quickly your match is depleted because, now if a donor comes in and they make a $1,000 gift, they're not going to completely blow out my match all in one shot. It would only match up to $100. So for some of you, you might not utilize that and you might just say, we're going to match everything dollar for dollar until the match is over. Fantastic. But for those of you who have a reason to want to slow that down, you can match up to a maximum amount per gift that comes through. And then another question that I saw come through was, I think, talking a little bit about some different kinds of matches depending on different kinds of goals. So we also have this tool here, which is called a cumulative threshold match. That's a bit of a wordy description, but what that is it's a challenge. So if we go this route and I say that my match type should be a cumulative threshold match, then I have some options of how I want to set that up. So I could tell the platform, I want to unlock $1,000 once we've received $1,000. I could say I want to unlock, my $1,000 once we have 200 donations that have come through. Or I could say, I want to unlock my $1,000 once 100, or let's say, 100 is a lot. Let's say once 50 unique donors have given to my page. So when we're looking at this matching grants tool, we really want to start by identifying what is your goal for Giving Day 2025. If you're looking at wanting to get, a higher donor number and not a dollar number, then maybe when you're setting up your matching grant, you're thinking about, coming into here, setting it up as a cumulative threshold match and saying, I have this $1,000, but in order to incentivize getting to that donor count that I'm looking for, I'm going to set it up as, we're going to unlock the $1,000 once X amount of donors has come through. So it really is about first identifying what are your goals for Giving Day 2025, and then how can a tool like this help you get there? If it's, if you're looking for a certain dollar amount, then having your matching grant based on dollars is going to make the most sense. If you're looking for reaching a certain donor amount, then setting it up so it's more incentivizing the amount of donors is going to align better with your campaign. And then as we scroll down here, we have a couple options too that I wanted to show you. So we have set a minimum per donation amount before match is applied. And so again, these might not all be utilized by you. There's a lot of options here. And the intention is, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of nonprofits who are using the Mighty Cause platform to be able to fundraise during giving events. And so we needed to build this tool to be really robust and allow for a lot of different configurations. If you come onto this matching grant screen, and if you were to change nothing, the settings that are in place are really what are most default and most used as kind of a matching grant setup. But again, we have all these different options for you to be able to click into if you need to. So this one here, set a minimum per donation amount before match is applied, would essentially, here's a use case. Let's say that I have participated in a giving day before. My average donation amount was $25. My goal is to increase our average donation amount during Giving Day 2025. And so when I set up this matching grant, I'm going to say that the matching grant actually won't activate unless people give a gift of $25 or more. So this is a really great way to kind of push donors into the path of making a slightly higher donation than they have in the past, and a great tool again to kind of slow down or change how your matching grant is used, because you're only applying it to certain gifts of X or more. And so again, might not be utilized by everyone, but there is a use case where if your strategy is around, increasing that, maybe your overall dollar amount or increasing your average gift amount, that might be a setting that you want to enable for your matching grant. The next one we have here is whether or not you want to include offline donations in the match. For the most part, I would say that it's really common to not have that be checked, because when donors give you cash or checks outside of the platform, their intention usually isn't that those are going to be matched, because they gave it to you in a different time, they gave it to you through a different path, and usually we want to leverage our matching grants to be able to incentivize our online donors who are showing up and making donations in that moment. So I would say it's probably pretty common to leave that unchecked, but if you wanted to have your offline donors be part of your matching grants, you could leave that checked. The only thing to consider is that a lot of times offline gifts are larger in their dollar amount, and you just want to make sure that you're not completely depleting a match for your offline donors, and then there's no real incentivization for your online donors. So keep that in mind when you're considering whether or not to keep that checked or unchecked. And then the last two here that I want to cover is include organization fundraisers in the match. So if you are going to leverage peer-to-peer fundraising and you have a lot of peer-to-peer fundraisers, they're really engaged and you think they're going to raise a lot, maybe you don't want to include gifts to the peer-to-peer fundraisers in the match because you're trying to slow down how quickly that match is depleted. Or again, maybe you're like, we're not sure what to expect this year when we set up this matching grant. So if you leave that checked, what that means is that any donor who gives to your organization level page or, gives to one of your peer-to-peer fundraisers, that gift will be included in the activity for this match. So again, just allows you to decide, how far reaching should that match be and how quickly will it be used up. And then the last one here is deciding whether or not you want the match to only be applied, once per donor, or should it be applied anytime the donor gives. And so I think that's also a really great tool for the person earlier who asked about, our goal is a donor goal and it's not a dollar goal. You could leave, we talked about how you could set it up as a cumulative threshold match. You could say once, 50 unique donors have given to my page, I'm going to unlock my $1,000. Or you could leave it as a standard percentage-based match. And if you click this checkbox here, that just means that it will only allow the match to unlock dollars for each unique donor that comes through. So again, just kind of some different settings that you can put in place depending on how you want to leverage that. And then I see some other questions come in and I'll answer them here in just a second. I just want to make sure we have a couple minutes left to get through the remainder of matches. Once you have set up successfully a matching grant on your page, and I showed you this a second ago, but you will see live matches. So here is where I can track that matching grant. I can see some progress on it. As far as what that looks like for your donors, our platform will do some automatic kind of advertising for you. So if you have an active live match that is currently present for your organization, By default, a little badge is added to your donate button. And so that automatically signifies to a donor who lands on your page, oh, there's a matching grant. How exciting. So that incentivizes them to give because they know that donations are going to be, amplified during that time. And likewise, if we scroll down here more towards the bottom section of your giving event page, bless me, sorry about that. If we scroll down here, we're able to see a section that shows your matches. And so anything that is active for your organization as well. So I can see more information about your match. So we're not only displaying it further down on your page, but we have that immediate recognition of the match up here on kind of the donate button. And then last but not least, wanted to show you really quickly. So if we go to, and this is our demo site, but if we come into the search page, and if you have an active match that is present on your organization page, when a donor is on the search for Giving Day 2025, and let's see if I can find one quickly, and I scroll down here, I can see automatically that there's a little yellow banner that's showing me that donations are currently matched for this organization. So once you set up a matching grant, once it's active, the Mighty Cause platform takes care of those three components. So we're helping you display that in various areas. We're helping you put it in front of audiences that your organization has an active match. And then obviously we also encourage you in any communications that you sent out, ramping up, leading up to Giving Day 2025 or during Giving Day 2025, letting your donors know that you have a match, letting them know how much it's for, letting them know what time it is, so that way you can drive activity to really be able to leverage that matching grant. But that is, I think, in completion, our matching grants tool. Again, there's a lot that we can do with the matching grants tool on Mighty Cause. And so I keep saying this, but if you have questions, prior to setup, during setup, after setup, reaching out to support@mightycause.com to be able to review and help you when you go through that process. And our team is more than happy to help. And so I have some questions that have come through. I'm going to do our next steps here really quickly, and then we'll open it up for question and answer. That way I can get through everything that's left and then any new questions that come in. So just one more second. The last thing that I just wanted to mention today before we do Q&A is what are our next steps? So utilizing the resources available in the nonprofit toolkit that Will and team have put together and really designed and curated to make sure you have access to everything you need to be successful during Giving Day 2025. Finishing your to-do list items, so making sure that we have a logo, we have a header image, you have content on your organization page, because that is the face of your organization, and we want to make sure that there's brand recognition. We want to make sure that donors trust that they're in the right space when they land on your page. We want you to create a fundraiser template, so that way we're, again, cutting down barriers to entry, making it really easy for our peer-to-peer fundraisers to be able to sign up and be successful. Encourage you to maybe identify, let's say, 5 supporters that could set up peer-to-peer fundraising pages and start engaging with them and getting them prepared and educated for Giving Day 2025. And then last but not least, try going out there in the community, communicating with maybe large donors that are planning to support you during the Giving Day, maybe reaching out to local businesses and seeing if anyone would be willing to sponsor a matching grant and getting that set up as soon as you're able to. And then our last nod is just a reminder that I've done 4 or 5 times throughout our conversation today. But if you have any questions, anything that comes up after the webinar, if you are on the platform and you need technical assistance, please reach out to our support team, support@mightycause.com. We're available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. So let's go ahead and we will open it to general question and answer. But for those of you who have to hop off, just want to say we really appreciate you joining us today for the fundraising strategy webinar for Giving Day 2025. And again, this whole webinar recording and slide deck will be available on the Nonprofit Toolkit by latest end of day tomorrow. So thank you, everyone. And now let's go ahead and we can open it up to the remaining question and answer for those of you who have time to stick around and have additional questions or want to hear, any other questions that have come